The Mean One could cement a full-blown horror icon, while also subverting a classic children's story in the process. 2022 has been a big year for horror. The genre was one of few major winners when multiplexes reopened following pandemic closures, and this trend has only been amplified over the past 12 months. One particular success story is slasher sequel Terrifier 2, which earned a staggering $11.3 million despite its paltry $250,000 budget. The sequel's success was not limited to box office either, with horror icon Stephen King praising Terrifier 2 on Twitter. The Mean One brilliantly continues two recent horror movie trends. Firstly, the parody can build upon David Howard Thornton's acclaimed performance as Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies, as Thornton portrays a slasher version of the Grinch in this delightfully twisted retelling of how the Grinch stole Christmas. The second recent horror trend The Mean One can cash in on is subversive childhood nostalgia, as the movie's slasher reimagining of a classic children's story calls to mind the controversial viral sensation Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, featuring a killer version of the titular bear. Grinch, The Mean One can cement David Howard Thornton as a modern slasher icon. While Terrifier 2 was undeniably a huge success, the slasher sequel remains an indie hit rather than a mainstream blockbuster, and the role of Art the Clown represents the first recognizable part for the previously unknown David Howard Thornton. Art the Clown is no Pennywise, but The Mean One could change this. The slasher horror retelling of how the Grinch stole Christmas can potentially cement Thornton's status as a modern horror icon by proving he can play terrifying villains outside the Terrifier franchise. The Grinch is the perfect character to recapture the mixture of physical comedy and genuine threat that David Howard Thornton brought to Art the Clown. David Howard Thornton's take on Art the Clown mixes the actor's mime experience with a brutish physicality that is genuinely horrifying, but also darkly amusing in places. While it will be tough for the Terrifier star's turn as the Grinch to outdo the Jim Carrey and Benedict Cumberbatch Grinches, The Mean One attaining indie success would confirm David Howard Thornton is far more than a mere one-role wonder within the horror genre. Moreover, the Grinch has been depicted as a talkative villain, whereas Art the Clown is silent, allowing Thornton to showcase more of his range in The Mean One than he could in the Terrifier movies. Why turning kids' stories into slasher movies is becoming a popular horror trend. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey and The Mean One both turn works of iconic children's literature into adults-only slasher movies, but this shared twisted premise is not as bizarre as it initially appears. Horror stories in any medium typically work best when they take the familiar and make it scary, and, as Art the Killer Clown in Terrifier proves, few familiar childhood tenets carry the potential for scares more than iconic figures of fun such as clowns, Winnie the Pooh or the Grinch. The buzz around Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey is such that The Mean One can trade off the same twisted joy of seeing characters intended for children morphed into figures of fear. Even more than Pooh, the Grinch lends himself particularly well to a horror parody, since the original character is already intended to be somewhat creepy. The Mean One will be scarier than ever thanks to Terrifier 2's David Howard Thornton, and its subversive take on nostalgic childhood fare means the Grinch is stealing two horror movie trends this Christmas.
All over the time flock with my lady, please let to my soul in my soul, but I thought our love was true. You is dead.